Hello everyone, my name is Daniela and I'm a volunteer with For a Safer Space. Today's presentation will be on intrusive thoughts. I would like to begin this presentation with a land acknowledgement. I am conducting this presentation on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island. While it is important to acknowledge which land I'm on, it is equally as important to understand why we engage in a land acknowledgement. First, acknowledging the land is an act of decolonization. Decolonization is an act that aims to reverse colonialism. It is also significant in understanding history and acknowledging history, as well as showing respect for indigenous peoples and their relationship to the land. However, it is important to not only use a land acknowledgement, but to educate ourselves on historical and current issues, stand with indigenous peoples in the pursuit of social justice, and decolonize our thoughts and actions. Today's agenda will include a brief introduction followed by what are intrusive thoughts, types of intrusive thoughts, statistics, signs of an underlying cause, mental health disabilities and intrusive thoughts, causes of intrusive thoughts, treatment, misconceptions about intrusive thoughts, coping with intrusive thoughts, supporting someone experiencing intrusive thoughts, supporting a client, and finally, resources and key takeaways will be discussed. Everyone may occasionally experience sudden thoughts that they may find distressing or uncomfortable. However, when there are frequent intrusive thoughts, they can cause a great deal of stress and anxiety. Intrusive thoughts can be defined as sudden and involuntary thoughts that can be disturbing in nature. They can cause distress to the individual experiencing them, but they do not lead to any adverse or harmful actions. There can be various categories of intrusive thoughts which can revolve around oneself or others. Intrusive thoughts can either come from no direct place, or they can also be the result of mental health disabilities. However, it is important to remember that intrusive thoughts are not reflective of one's nature or intentions, and that people experiencing intrusive thoughts do not have to live with them alone. What are intrusive thoughts? Intrusive thoughts are sudden and involuntary thoughts that can be disturbing in nature. They can cause distress to the individual experiencing them, however, they do not lead to any adverse or harmful actions. Anyone can experience disturbing thoughts that can make them uncomfortable, but for some, they can occur so frequently that they cause severe stress and anxiety. Intrusive thoughts can be a symptom of certain mental health disabilities, including depression, anxiety, Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, or OCD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. These thoughts are unwanted and can occur for no particular reason. As they can occasionally be of explicit nature, this can result in individuals keeping them a secret due to feelings of guilt and shame. But intrusive thoughts are involuntary and are not representative of reality or the person's desires. People do not act on these thoughts and may be disturbed, shocked, and find them unacceptable. Intrusive thoughts can be persistent, resulting in severe stress. However, the more an individual tries to ignore them or get rid of them, the more they can persist and worsen. Types of intrusive thoughts. It is important to remember that intrusive thoughts are involuntary, and those who experience them are often disgusted by their nature. There are different types of intrusive thoughts, which can be classified into 4 types: sexual, relationship, religious, and violent intrusive thoughts. Sexual intrusive thoughts often revolve around a person's sexuality or sexually harming others. This can include fear of being sexually attracted to infants, fears of being attracted to relatives and family members, and fears regarding one's sexual orientation. Relationship intrusive thoughts result in people feeling anxiety around their relationships, which can cause issues within the relationship itself. These thoughts can include analyzing the intensity of their feelings for their partner obsessively and finding faults, continually seeking reassurance from a partner, and anxiety around cheating and infidelity. Religious intrusive thoughts can include thoughts about one's deity not forgiving them for perceived sins, having negative thoughts when in a religious building, continuously repeating certain prayers, anxieties surrounding losing touch with their deity, anxieties around losing touch with their beliefs, and consistently analyzing their faith. And finally, violent intrusive thoughts result from thoughts about being violent towards oneself or others. This can include harming loved ones or children, killing others, using items to harm others, which can result in individuals locking away these objects, and thoughts about poisoning food for loved ones, which can make the individual avoid cooking. Often when these thoughts are experienced, individuals may avoid public places or contact with others. Now we will go over statistics to see how common intrusive thoughts are. In one study, it was found that 94.3% of individuals had at least one type of unwanted intrusive thought within the last 3 months. This demonstrates that intrusive thoughts are not only experienced due to mental health disabilities such as OCD, but can also occur to anyone. As well, this demonstrates how intrusive thoughts may not always be for a particular reason. However, if they last and cause significant distress or changes in behavior, it could be a sign of an underlying cause. Signs of an underlying cause. As mentioned, intrusive thoughts can happen to everyone at one point or another and are often not a cause for concern. However, there can be signs of an underlying cause, which can include intrusive thoughts lasting longer than a short period of time, the thoughts cause significant distress over periods of time, the thoughts often resurface or can repeatedly be thought about, or the individual may feel that they need to control their thought. For instance, an individual may feel that they should avoid contact with others or public spaces. In the case of mental health disabilities being a concern, there are some early warning signs which can include changes or alterations in thought patterns, obsessive thoughts, or thoughts of disturbing imagery. Causes of intrusive thoughts. There are various causes of intrusive thoughts, and often there might not be a direct cause, as many people experience them without the thoughts having significant meaning. However, sometimes there can be direct causes. For instance, intrusive thoughts can be a type of OCD. Common to this mental health disability is the experience of obsessive thoughts or compulsive behaviors. Additionally, this can be common in people living with PTSD. This is due to hyperarousal some individuals might feel or flashbacks they might experience. The intrusive thoughts they experience can also relate to their trauma and lived experiences. Other causes can include brain injury, dementia, or Parkinson's disease. As well, sometimes the direct cause of intrusive thoughts may not be clear. This next section will discuss different mental health disabilities and how they relate to the prevalence of intrusive thoughts. While this is not an exhaustive list, and mental health is not always the reason for intrusive thoughts, the mental health disabilities we will cover include Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, and eating disorders. Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, or OCD. In people living with OCD, intrusive thoughts can result in severe anxiety and distress. Often individuals with OCD will make efforts to suppress and prevent their unwanted thoughts or obsessions. This can result in repeating particular behaviors or habits, known as compulsions, over and over. These compulsions can interfere with someone's daily life and their overall quality of life. However, it is evident that different treatments can mitigate intrusive thoughts associated with OCD. Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, or PTSD. With individuals living with PTSD, they may experience intrusive thoughts related to a traumatic event they experienced. These thoughts or memories can increase other symptoms of PTSD, which can include insomnia or stress caused by being over-alert. PTSD can impact someone's daily functioning. However, if treatment is trauma-focused and trauma-informed, it can improve the prevalence of intrusive thoughts. Eating disorders. In individuals living with an eating disorder, they may experience intrusive thoughts about their body, weight, or the food they consume. For instance, this can include guilt, shame, or fears related to food or body image. These thoughts can cause severe feelings of anxiety. Eating disorders can also create large changes in behaviors around food and eating. As eating disorders can be very severe and life-threatening, it is important to reach out to a professional. With professional supports, intrusive thoughts related to the eating disorder can be lessened over time. Now we will go over treatment options. Someone experiencing intrusive thoughts does not have to live with them. There are 2 treatment options available for intrusive thoughts. The first option is psychotherapy, where individuals will be assisted in changing how they think and react to these thoughts. This can be beneficial in also providing a safe space to discuss the thoughts and find tools to manage them. Another option is medication, which may include the use of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, or another type of antidepressant. Often medications will take 8 to 12 weeks to begin working for intrusive thoughts. Misconceptions about intrusive thoughts. There are various misconceptions about intrusive thoughts. However, we will discuss 2 of the most common and harmful misconceptions. The first misconception is a person wants to act on their thoughts. This is untrue and the most dangerous misconception. People do not often want to act on their thoughts. In fact, individuals often work hard to fight their thoughts, which can worsen them and make them more persistent. As well, these thoughts are often at odds with the nature of the individual who thinks them. This can cause harm, as individuals typically keep these thoughts a secret rather than reaching out. The second misconception is all thoughts are worth examining. Sometimes intrusive thoughts do not have any important meaning. Most individuals experience intrusive thoughts occasionally with no underlying meaning. Contrary to the distress they may cause, intrusive thoughts do not show any goals or desires. However, if they are frequent and causing significant distress, it can be important to reach out. Coping with intrusive thoughts. There are different ways of managing and coping with intrusive thoughts. First, we will go over techniques to manage intrusive thoughts. Important to managing intrusive thoughts can include the following: identifying the thoughts as intrusive, understanding that they are involuntary and irrelevant, accepting them and their existence rather than pushing them away, continuing normal behaviors and routines, understanding and acknowledging that the thoughts may return, and practicing meditation or mindfulness. However, it is also important to avoid the following when managing these thoughts. Avoid pushing the thoughts away, trying to decipher or figure out the meaning of the thoughts, and avoid engaging with these thoughts. Next, for coping with intrusive thoughts, some important steps can include reaching out. This can either be reaching out to a professional for support, as discussed in the treatment slide, who can provide the appropriate tools and measures that will assist intrusive thoughts and coping with them, or another way is to reach out to loved ones. This is important as individuals often feel they must hide their thoughts due to feelings of guilt or shame. However, intrusive thoughts are not a reflection of the individual, and it can be beneficial to discuss them. Finally, self-care is important. Self-care will look different to everyone, however this can be a significant step in remembering that intrusive thoughts are just thoughts, and not the same as intent or behavior. Finding ways to de-stress that will have meaningful impact on the individual is significant in coping. Supporting someone experiencing intrusive thoughts. There are various steps individuals can take to help someone experiencing intrusive thoughts, and the most important way is to have open and honest conversations. By remaining judgment-free, patient, and understanding, this can all be beneficial in helping someone cope. Often individuals experiencing intrusive thoughts will keep them secret due to guilt and shame. However, this can only make them worse. By being a safe space for open conversation, it can benefit the individual and help them cope with their thoughts. As well, if they tend to have certain behaviors, such as avoiding people or certain compulsions that result from intrusive thoughts, it can be helpful to work out how to manage them together. You can also remind them that the thoughts are not a reflection of them and their intentions, but involuntary thoughts that cannot harm. Help them find supports. Professional support can be beneficial at minimizing intrusive thoughts. However, someone may not know where to go or may be too anxious to find help. By assisting them in finding professional support, it can remind them you are there and want to help them. Finally, most important is to remember self-care. It can become stressful supporting someone, however, it is important to ensure you take time to look after yourself. This can be done by establishing boundaries, reaching out to others, or simply taking time to relax. Supporting a client. When clients experience intrusive thoughts, they can sometimes begin to get stuck on them and repeatedly think of them. This can cause distress and anxiety. However, this can still occur after looking at a problem, validating and giving reassurance, and offering coping mechanisms. Therefore, the most significant thing to say to a client is that unwanted, intrusive thoughts are reinforced when they engage with the thought itself. The best way to work with intrusive thoughts is by acknowledging their existence without responding or reacting to it. This is often called disentangling from content. Examples of phrases that can be used include, "That's a thought, a scary thought, but just a thought." "Nothing is certain, so our job is to allow the thought without fighting it." "Remember that arguing with the thought increases its strength." And change what if to what is. Change your attention to what you hear, see, and smell right now in the moment. This method of disentanglement is beneficial as it makes clients stop engaging with the thought and can lessen the distress these thoughts cause. Now we'll go over resources. The most important thing to take away from this video is that there's supports and help available. For an immediate mental health crisis, reach out to a crisis line for support. For non-immediate mental health support, a useful resource is For a Safer Space. For a Safer Space is a nonprofit that offers accessible and inclusive mental health care. Visit the website for more information if you would like to reach out for support. We will conclude with some key takeaways. Intrusive thoughts are sudden and involuntary thoughts that can be disturbing in nature. They can cause distress to the individual experiencing them. However, they do not lead to any adverse or harmful actions and are not reflective of someone's intentions. There are various different types of intrusive thoughts. The most common types can be classified into 4 categories, including sexual, relationship, religious, and violent intrusive thoughts. While anyone can experience intrusive thoughts from time to time with no underlying reasons, there can be signs of underlying causes of intrusive thoughts. There can be causes of intrusive thoughts when there is underlying reasons, which can include various physical and mental health concerns. To continue with some key takeaways, intrusive thoughts are correlated to different mental health disabilities, with the 3 most common being OCD, PTSD, and eating disorders. There are treatment options that can minimize intrusive thoughts, including psychotherapy and medication. There are 2 common misconceptions about intrusive thoughts that can create harm and perpetuate many harmful stereotypes and stigmas. There are ways to manage and cope with intrusive thoughts. However, most significant is to acknowledge the thought without engaging with it. Individuals can support others experiencing intrusive thoughts, but they must also remember to take care of their own well-being. Finally, practitioners can assist clients in a variety of ways. However, the most impactful method to helping clients is disentangling from content. That concludes this presentation on intrusive thoughts. Thank you for watching.